We're back, people. What is up? Nice little stream going on. Go over some of the week 1 aftermath. I made the film breakdowns earlier in this week. I got a lot of questions from y'all. I put out a community post yesterday. So yeah, I'm going to go through and definitely try to answer all the questions that I can on the community post. And then obviously, you guys want some questions in here. I'll try to get to those too. Go over some different things, some things that I maybe didn't get quite to talk about enough in the breakdowns, maybe certain narratives that I've seen started that I don't think are necessarily correct about why the Dolphins played so bad. I actually think it was a little bit of different reasons than maybe the usual narratives that are pushed. So yeah, we'll definitely get into all of that. Cool. Let you guys file in here. All right, what's the last one? How was breakfast? How's your day going? Didn't eat breakfast today. Doing a mini fast. But yeah, I'm doing good. Doing much better than I was on Sunday, I would say it took a little while to get that reset going. We're on to week 2, like Abby said, that game sucked about as bad as it could get, but we have seen week 1s be sort of fluky in the past for teams. We've seen teams have just a horrible game and then kind of turn their season around. So it's not impossible to be better. Do I have a lot of faith in that? Not really after what I saw, but I think anything's possible. I think it just comes down to, I know the team can play better than what they showed. I know they can play a lot better. I think it just comes down to their mindset and how badly they want it. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. There's a lot of problems week 1. I think a lot of people identified, specific people when it was just, and those people were definitely to blame, like Tua and McDaniel, but it was just an overall absolute slot fest from the whole team. I'd say the season is over. The fans that are saying the season is over, if their goal was like to win the Super Bowl, the season was over before it even started, but like it's not over from like you can't give up. If you're on the team, you're not giving up. You never see a week 1 like this. So here's how I kind of related to it. This isn't a week 1 game, but like if you go back and look at the Dolphins versus Broncos, remember when the Dolphins put up 70 on the Broncos? After that, the Dolphins pretty much the Broncos were actually much better than that after that game. So I think that game shows me that pretty much anyone can kind of bounce back. Tyreek and Achane looked great, though. Those are positive. They look great every time I got the ball. I would say Achane looked great. I wouldn't say Tyreek looked great. He definitely wasn't bad. Most of the problems that stem from like Tyreek and Waddle were doing, I would say, good individually in terms of getting open. We just were either not getting the ball. I think it was probably the worst game I've seen from Tua from a mental standpoint. That's my biggest concern from that game. And then also there was just times where he couldn't get them the ball because of some O-line issues. I don't think the O-line was overall a crazy issue in that game, except for 2 big blunders from Austin Jackson. And then now we're going into week 2 and we might not even have the right side of the line at all. We're definitely going to have, it looks like from what McDaniel says, he's expecting Keon Smith and Larry Borom to be the right side of your line, which is not good at all. Probably the biggest positive for the offense is their run EPA. They actually have the highest run EPA in week 1, which is funny. I think game flow kind of ruined that. They got down really early and weren't able to run the ball a lot consistently. So that kind of hurt the game, obviously. I expect to see more runs if the Dolphins can just keep it relatively close early on. I think they went down early and just couldn't really get anything going offensively. But who knows? The run game might be now hindered. You're going to see a lot of runs to the left side with the right side of the line being completely different. But yeah. Bro, Hill got a 32-yard catch and the coach did not challenge it. I don't think he was. Oh, you're talking about the one on the sideline? I don't know if he was in on that. I personally, I haven't looked at it again, but I didn't think he was in when I first saw it. Said based on PFF and what he saw, that the defensive line didn't play that bad. They were not great, but they were not horrible. I would say Paul and Brewer were 2 of your best offensive performers. Jonah was up and down, but I would say leans towards the bad side, so a below average performance. Keon Smith was awful, and then Austin Jackson just had 2 costly reps. So when you're an offensive lineman, you have 2 really bad costly reps. It's going to make your game look really bad. Because even though the other reps weren't as bad and you probably played decent enough outside of that, those 2 reps were huge sacks. One of them turned into a turnover. But yeah. Oh yeah, I posted a Cole Strange video this morning if you guys want to watch that. I mean, I'm not expecting much from Cole Strange, but I understand he is a fit, and I understand why they tried to add him. I think, there's some potential there as a depth versatility interior guy. Yeah, it's too early for a meltdown, I think. I understand why people are upset. I mean, trust me, I was just watching the screen with nothing behind my eyes. But I try not to overreact because at the end of the day, it looked awful. It was horrible. It was one of the worst performances I've ever seen the team have. But it only equals one loss. So you can bounce back from it. Will they? I hope so. The Patriots game is huge for that. Because if they lose to the Pats, they're probably starting 0-3. It's very unlikely you beat the Bills on a Thursday night game in Buffalo. I mean, you never beat them anyways. And then who knows with the Jets. I think the Dolphins do match up better versus the Patriots. I think they'll be able to get more pressure. I'm going to do a Patriots preview later in the week, but I do think that is something to look at. Chop was not getting bullied in week 1, like granted. I mean, the whole defensive front pretty much had a bad game. I'm not too worried about the young guys long term. I'm not going to overreact to that. That's one of I think the defensive front played really bad and were one of the biggest detriments to the defense in week 1. But that's probably the area I think you'll see the quickest improvement from, like, that group. I think, like, short term, yeah, that was horrible. But I think, like, pretty quickly, couple of games. I think the Patriots have a good shot of turning around. Bills and Jets will be tough because Bills and Jets have good offensive linemen, so that will be a tough battle. But I think, after that, I'm not too worried about them, like, overall. But yeah. A little late, but there's a two-parter. Why did the D-line seemingly fail as rushing the passer, and how do they fix it? Well, I think it comes down to, I think scheme played a huge part early on. I think the Colts did a really good job scheming out, like, quick stuff for Daniel Jones and, like, putting a lot of guys in conflict and, using play action to slow people down, coming out in 1st and 10, using max protect play action to take shots down the field. They did that a couple of times. And they did a good job slowing them down in those spots. And then when they were able to get in, like, 3rd and long situations, guys just didn't win their ones. I think the Colts have a very good O-line, and maybe the guys came out a little short. And I also didn't like the rotation of the edge group. I think a lot of the guys played the same snap percentage, and I feel like no one got to, like, get anything going. I feel like none of them got to get a good feel for the game. Like, Phillips, Chubb, Chop, Judon just felt like they were in and out every, like, 2-3 plays, and it felt like no one got to get any momentum built off of that. And I feel like that is something I would like to see guys, get some good moments. And then, maybe you bring in your better pass rushers in obvious 3rd down situations, things like that. They also blitzed a ton, and the blitzing did not work. I think the Dolphins, where is the stat? Let me see if I can find it. I think, yeah, Miami blitzed 17 times on Sunday for 51.5%, which is way more than they did last year. By far the most blitzing, and all they got for that was 1 sack. So to me, like, that puts a lot of pressure on your secondary, the fact that you can blitz like that and still not really get that much pressure on the QB. So I think that was a big disappointment in the game. I think they got outcoached both sides of the ball pretty badly. But yeah. Yeah, the Patriots game is weird. I'm going to get to that in a later stream, but they played a lot of, if you look at the Raiders coverage, or Patriots coverages, Patriots played cover 1 38% of the time and cover 3 36% of the time. So they played single high, middle field close a lot, which is usually what the Dolphins do better against. But last time the Dolphins faced a Vrabel team, that was that Titans game, and Vrabel did a lot of Tampa 2, especially a lot of Tampa 2 invert, which is kind of what the Texans did last year, which, we've seen the Dolphins struggle with, so they have to be prepared for that. Also, the Dolphins ran a lot of cover 2. I think they ran cover 2 as high as anyone. Yeah, the Dolphins ran cover 2 at 36%, which was the highest in the league in week 1. Second was the Colts at 33%, so that game was just a lot of cover 2. I think I want to see the Dolphins be a little more physical and maybe a little more man, stuff like that. But yeah. And for the rookies, just to talk about the rookies, I don't want to harp on them too much. Like, yes, some guys are going to struggle. Grant struggled. Jonah struggled. Jordan Phillips had some struggles. He did have some good plays. Jason Marshall, I will say this about Jason Marshall. He needs to work on his tackling for sure. He missed some key tackles. I would say like 2 tackles there was like definitely misses. But he was probably your best corner in coverage, so that's a positive. And I would say Trader was probably your best rookie in week 1, which is funny because he's the only one who didn't really play in preseason. And then the other guys didn't play. Or Ollie played like, a couple of snaps. But I think we'll see more Ollie in the next week for sure, as long as you don't go down too early right away. Maybe a little early. Yeah, I mean, I'll get into some maybe coaching candidates. It is definitely early in the process. I don't want to overreact. I mean, if McDaniel doesn't improve, then yeah, he's going to get fired for sure. But I do think, you got to give them at least a few games, and then they'll do interim, and then I'll see who's available in the offseason to see what I really want. I've seen a lot of people mention like John Gruden. I know that's one of the questions. Personally, that's a big no for me. I don't really see the advantage of adding Gruden. I just think there's a lot better options. I mean, Gruden, I don't think has had a winning season in the NFL in like 2 decades. But yeah, let me get into some of these community questions. I'm just going to go through, and because there's a lot of them. So these were on the community post. First one from Darb7796. He says, I'm hoping Tua works out for us, but if not, are there any college quarterbacks you'd want the Dolphins to select in the upcoming drafts? Also, what are your thoughts on buying low on teams on talents like Trey Lance, Anthony Richardson, or even Tanner McKee to compete with Tua in the future if he hangs around? Love the vids and breakdowns. Okay. So yeah, I have watched some draft prospects. I have not watched all of them. I think if things look like week 1 over the next few weeks, then I'm probably going to get into the draft process pretty soon, and I'll probably start doing streams where like, yeah, we'll still talk about the games, we'll still talk about the Dolphins, but I'm going to start talking about a few draft prospects like each time. So like if we start going into draft season pretty quick, then yeah, keep an eye out for if you want draft content, because I'll probably get into that, but that's still early. But yeah, talking about some quarterbacks, I do like the idea of buying low on talents of guys that maybe didn't work out for their first team. I don't really, I mean, Trey Lance and Anthony Richardson, not them specifically, but I do like the idea of buying low on certain talents. I don't know if there's anyone really out there that I'm looking for at this specific moment. Tanner McKee is a very good backup, actually, for the Eagles. I mean, I don't even know if they would move on from him. But in terms of, like, I would say early quarterbacks that I kind of like, I would say Garrett Nussmeier, Lenoris Sellers, and John Mateer are the most interesting to me. Nussmeier, I think, is the safest bet to be good, but I don't know if he'll be a great NFL quarterback. I think he's going to be good. That's where my thought is. And then Sellers, it's like, for Sellers, it just depends on Sellers, it depends on who you bring in as a coach. Like, Sellers is the guy you shoot for the roof with. Like, and I don't mind that thought process, even though I think there's a chance he, might not work out. You do need like elite quarterbacks in this league and to be really, really consistently good in the NFL. So I don't mind taking that shot at all if they're in that position. But yeah, it's still far away, still very early in the process. I'm sure some guys will show out. Like Dante Moore from Oregon, he declares he's looked pretty good early on. He's actually kind of catching my eye as well, but that's also still a little bit farther out. I'm surprised no one's mentioning. Grant, I did see someone mention him on Twitter yesterday, Chris Shula. Yeah, he's not a bad shout. I actually don't mind going for the McVay tree. I like McVay tree guys. I know he's more of a defensive coordinator. I mean, maybe there's some offensive guys you go in that direction too. But I'm not against that. I'm also not against like Joe Brady from the Bills. I think he does some good stuff over there. But yeah, more questions. Can you make a PowerPoint presentation on how to fix this story in long term? Keys on my mind said that. Is PowerPoint still a thing? I mean, I don't know if I can make a PowerPoint. I could probably make one on the long term. Short term, I don't. There's the only fix is like them locking in, and like I don't know if there's an actual short term fix at this point in the season. Long term, I could maybe make a thing of how like, oh, this is where you should attack in free agency in the draft. But yeah, I think Brady could, or I think Trader could be a starter pretty soon. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't mind it. I don't mind seeing the young guys out there, especially if the Dolphins are going to, struggle. I mean, get the young guys reps, see what you got. Okay, David said, if there's one change or move you can do, what would it be? If there's one change or move you could do, what would it be? Trying to think of something that would actually make a true impact of like a change they could make. Honestly, it might be playing more press on defense, because I think having I might put in guys like if Ethan Bonner's back healthy, might want to get Bonner out there. I'd let the young DBs play, and I would let them be aggressive, because we already saw problems in the secondary in week 1, and they played soft. So I'm like, might as well play. We were giving up big plays, even playing soft coverage. So might as well let them play aggressive, let them disrupt timing, and maybe that will give that extra tick, extra half second for your edges to get there. I think that could make the difference on defense. Offense, I mean, it just comes down to Tua and McDaniel. I mean, stepping up, being better. I mean, there's nothing I can really change for them specifically. So that's sort of where I'm at. Trade Tyreek. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's definitely a move later in the season. That's definitely on the table though. But I don't think they'll make that until like right before the trade deadline. And we also saw, Tyreek's in the news again for his usual absolute foolishness that he's doing. What adjustments can be made if Daniels and Austin Jackson are unavailable? Well, it seems like they're going to put Keon Smith and Borum there. I think I would roll with Borum at right tackle, but I think I would rather put either Brunskill at guard or even Cole Strange at guard over Keon Smith. I just don't see him as a guard. I think they could still have run game success, specifically working to the left side, and there's ways to protect them. But the adjustments more so come from McDaniel, and I think he did a lot of... my big concern is McDaniel did a lot of 2024 play design and play calling in that first game, and not as much 2022 and 2023, and like he would have to go back to more of that stuff. But it is week 1. There was poor executions. Maybe they can change, but I'm not feeling super confident about that. Got another question about John Mateer. Things goes if he will start. He looks like a Josh Allen type of QB. I mean, he's more, in my opinion, Mateer's like a Baker Mayfield-ish type. I don't think he's not as big as Josh Allen. He also said the next QB that they draft definitely needs to be 6'5" with a rocket arm and can run and escape or buy time in the pocket. I agree with the athletic part. I don't think they need to be 6'5" with like a crazy rocket arm. Now, yeah, I want them to be, more durable. If they were going to replace Tua, bigger, more durable, a stronger arm. But I don't think those are things that are like necessities. Like I still want them to be good at good QB things like, processing, decision making, accuracy. Now, because you don't need to be that most Josh Allen. I know people want a Josh Allen type, but Josh Allen's more the exception to the rule. Like those guys that coming out of college that were like Josh Allen with the poor accuracy, poor decision making, they rarely work out. Like Josh Allen's one of the only examples of those guys actually working. And you could get lucky and maybe you get that. But you look at Lamar. Lamar's been super durable. Lamar's not that big, but he's super athletic. I'm actually more so looking for athleticism, I think. I would rather have a super athletic guy than a super big and slow guy. That's why I might be not as high on maybe Drew Aller as some other people. I still need to see more from Aller. Aller is like the big guy, strong arm, not super athletic though. But yeah, that's to answer that question. I kind of answered this question from Buso Renkin earlier, saying about what adjustments can Weaver make on defense, and kind of being a little more press, a little more physical at the line. And I think just guys coming along, feeling a little bit better, maybe not doing as much as like that constant rotation. Let guys get a better feel for the game, and guys just need to win. Question: how does Cole Strange Grand ask this? I mean, I think if you watch the video, I answered how Cole Strange fits with the Dolphins scheme. He is, yeah. I think they probably see him more as a center. He can play guard, and he does have the athleticism. I think even McDaniel talked about that in the interview. Is there any hope? There's always some hope. Has McDaniel alluded to needing to adapt to changes in the strategy mid-game, or more directly noted he got outcoached? I mean, I don't know. I don't put a lot of stock in pretty much any coach or player interviews. I feel like most of that stuff is BS anyway, so I don't really listen to it. I mean, I'm sure he's probably alluded to something like that before, but I mean, I don't know. That was Mr. Baldylocks. I think there needs to be a better balance between Achane and Ollie. Seeing Achane trying to block Bugner isn't right. Ollie seems better suited for those matchups. I think a lot of people blamed Achane for a lot of the pass protection stuff. I actually think most of that was on the O-line. I know it looked like Achane in a couple of those plays, but I actually think those plays were on Austin Jackson mostly. They actually rarely ask their running backs to pass protect. I think they just need to stay on the field more to actually get those. I mean, I think McDaniel even alluded to, he even said, I'm pretty sure, I read it. I didn't listen to it, but I'm pretty sure he said the plan was to get Ollie Gordon more involved, but game flow kind of ruined that. Phil asked, any comments on why Tua wasn't targeting to the left at all? Maybe 3 passes. Are Paul and Jonah too tall for him to see over? I did see the passing chart. Yeah, he didn't really throw to the left in this game, which was weird. I think you just need a bigger sample size, more games. If it happens again, then maybe there's some truth to that. But I mean, that's just pure speculation. John Mateer similar to Justin Herbert? I don't know. I don't really see that either. I think Justin Herbert's much bigger, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Herbert's 6'6". And I'm pretty sure Mateer's listed at like 6'1". Mateer gives me more Baker type vibes, if anything. Who would you like to see a GM coaching QB next year? I mean, it's just too early. I mean, I can have a better answer for that much later. I mean, GM, I have no idea. GM, it's tough to say because there's guys who work for the other teams, but like when you're on the room and you don't know the actual impact they have. I don't know. Coaching, there's a few different options. I'd wait till the end of the season. Are the Dolphins not recognize DB blitzes coming because Tua don't see it? Usually that is the case with quarterbacks when a lot of blitzing DBs come. It is actually a lot of times on the quarterback to read that he's hot. But in the 2 sacks that I remember, they were actually on the O-line because they slid the protection to the blitz. So Tua wasn't looking to that side. Those blitzes should have been picked up. Those ones actually weren't on Tua. Sometimes those blitzes would be on Tua, but those 2 specific plays weren't. Go watch Mateer film. His throwing motion and the way he moves is extremely similar to Herbert. I mean, I have watched the film. I personally just don't see it. I mean, maybe a little bit with the motion at times, but I think he plays a little more baseball style than Herbert does too. Would John Gruden be a good head coaching fit? I don't think so. I'm reading more of these. Some of these I've kind of already gone over. Since our front four is supposed to be a strength, we're running too many exotic coverages and blitzes. I don't really think that was the problem. It wasn't because of like the exotic coverages, exotic blitzes. I don't think. I just think they just lost up front. The offense did better. Mateer is all right. Mateer, I still definitely need to see more from. It's still very early in the process. I still think there's some potential processing that I have concerns with him, but we'll see once I dig into the whole film. Anything else? Man, a lot of people want John Gruden. I don't get it. Why did the Dolphins cut Hilton and make a 6th round rookie start nickel? Well, he's a 5th rounder. And he was still probably your best corner out there. And I think Hilton just didn't look the same for them. So they cut him and decided to go with the youth movement. I always scoffed at the idea that Tua panics after his first read. Hearing X say it made it seem real. Any thoughts? okay, so the whole let's go over the Xavier Howard stuff. Because that's another thing where they play into the narrative. Like he talked about them, clouding the middle of the field. If you watch the film, the Colts did not crowd the middle of the field any more than teams usually play the middle of the field. The Dolphins just missed those plays. There was only maybe one snap where I thought they did like the middle of the field thing that and that was on the Alec Ingold dig throw. That was like the only play where they like maybe hard played the middle of the field with their safety like that, like what the Texans did last year. But that was really the only play. There was other opportunities to hit the middle of the field. They just did not execute on it, whether Tua missed it or, the plays that we got sacked on. Those were a couple of them. But yeah, I think that narrative wasn't. And then the Tua panics after first read. I think for me, the Tua first read thing is in that game specifically versus the Colts. Yes, he definitely panicked after his first read, and it was the most uncomfortable I've seen him. And like from a mental standpoint, he just wasn't seeing the field well at all. I think overall the panic after the first, I think it's more so he gets locked in and tries to force things on his first read, not necessarily the panic part. I think that narrative has always been kind of overplayed, but it definitely was the case in the Week 1 game. But we'll get more snaps. Then we'll see Dante Trader get more snaps. Who else? Willie Gay didn't play at all. Willie Gay should definitely be getting more snaps because I don't think it was a great game from Terrell Dotson. Looks like Tua gave up on his career. I mean, I wouldn't say that. It definitely was a really bad game, don't get me wrong, but I feel like that's just pure speculation to say that after 1 week. But I mean, hopefully it improves. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It says, always been willful neglect of the O-line, always bargained, been hunting for injury-prone players or unproven. I mean, yeah, that definitely was a problem. I mean, the James Daniel thing is unlucky because he really only had one major injury throughout his career, or at least for a while, and it was at Achilles. And then he plays 5 snaps and hurts his pec. Like, that's kind of just unlucky. I don't know if that's one I would use to, like... I think that one is more of an unlucky thing up front. But yeah, the Austin Jackson, that's clearly putting it all on an injury-prone player. Let's see, anything else? Yeah, so James Daniels missing 4 games. Yeah. Even Kyle Crabb said it. He said James Daniels averaged only 2 missed games a year in his first 6 years in the NFL and played 15-plus games in 5 of those first 7 seasons and healed significantly faster than average on Achilles tear from 2024. I mean, using that to, for his pec injury, I mean, it's that's just the NFL sometimes. Now there's players like Austin Jackson. Yes, he has that was pretty likely. The starting offensive line 5 lasted 5 games. Of course it did. If Ethan Bonner's healthy with the Storm Duck injury, I would like to see some of Ethan Bonner out there. Jack Jones had a lot of negative plays. Rasul Douglas, especially if they're playing man-to-man. I don't know if I trust Rasul Douglas in press man-to-man. I'm sure we're still going to see those guys until proven otherwise. I think Marshall's going to play slot. I think we're going to see more Ashton Davis because Melifonwu could not play as a deep... Like, the Dolphins played a lot of split field looks, and that's just not Melifonwu's strength. Like, and they played Melifonwu back there, and they paid the price on that 1 touchdown because Melifonwu and Duck were out of position down the sideline. It's funny, a lot of my favorite rookies balled out in Week 1. I think Donovan Jackson had a good game. Tyler Warren, Will Johnson, Carson Schwessinger, Armand Membo. They had some good games. Now it is Week 1. Don't need to overreact. Apparently Jackson Haas had like a super high PFF grade. I didn't watch him, but he had apparently the highest PFF grade on the Bills. And you know how much I love Jackson Haas. That would have been a tight end I went after in that draft. Oof. That could have been a late round difference maker. Is Achane still healthy? Yeah, I think so. You can't just chop that as a bad for Tua. He had 200 plus days to prepare for the Colts. Oh, I mean, it was the worst game of his career, and I'm not excusing it by any means. But at the end of the day, it is one game, and like he has a chance to bounce back. He also has a chance to continue down that path. I'm not saying one way or another what he's going to do. I just think people are talking in too much absolutes about the Dolphins when realistically we have no idea, you know? We have no idea if it's going to get better, stay the same, get worse. I feel like people are like, oh. I just feel like people are saying now, like people that were like, oh, Tua's good. Now people are like, oh, he's horrible. He sucks because of that one game. It like the people like talk about it like it erases the past. And not saying Tua didn't have problems in the past too. He's always had some certain limitations to his games. But I feel like people are just talking too much absolutes. So you're watching the Raiders game where Fitzpatrick had the brim, you know, who caught a lot of passes the game, Darren Waller. Yeah, the Dolphins definitely rotated way too much. I think they just, I mean, the players weren't really playing so, but I just think they need to let the players at least get a feel. And then if they play a whole game bad, or like they're really struggling, a specific player's really struggling, yeah, get them out of there. Put a player in, but it was a constant rotation. What's up, old man Jeb? Nobody wanted Tyler Warren. Well, I wouldn't say nobody. Tyler Warren was one of my favorite players in the draft. I mean, I still think, I mean, people, I've already seen people saying Kenneth Grant's bad, which is, they did this last year too. Also, Mick douchebag. Okay. And the thing with McDaniel, and this is like the thing with Rex Ryan, yes, McDaniel needs to be way better. If it doesn't, he's going to be fired, and he should. Same with Chris Greer. We don't need to take the personal shots, the name calling at McDaniel like Rex Ryan did. It's just not cool. It's just pointless. Like it's cool to be very critical of him as a coach, but I just feel like I don't know. The Rex Ryan thing pissed me off. And as someone who has a Mick last name and has heard every Mick, you know, nickname in the book, like, come on, let's be better. Okay. Yeah, that is a concern. I mean, it's only one game sample size, so I don't want to, you know, predict what's going on with Tua or not. But yeah, if the injuries have caught up with him, that could also affect his play. And then that's also why, like, by the end of the season, I think the Dolphins, even if Tua plays great the rest of the year, the Dolphins should still be looking for a QB in next year's draft because I think the class should be pretty good. And, you know, just because of the injury questions, you should still be looking. I still think you should be taking shots. Like last year, I didn't want a QB because I didn't think there was really any good opportunities to take one. Or like I didn't want a QB early because I didn't think there was any good opportunities. This next year, I think there might be good opportunities. And I think if they're in that spot, they should take one. Even if, you know, Tua turns it around, doesn't, I think that should be in their mind. People are just so reactionary. I mean, yeah, human nature. My question is how long do you let this get on until you start making moves if you're Ross? Oh yeah, so I've seen a lot of timelines. It really depends because I think people want to make moves right away because they think that will like fix the Dolphins season. I don't think like firing McDaniel, say if they play really bad next week, I don't think firing McDaniel like fixes their problems. At least this year, it might fix their problems, you know, in the next coming years. But it won't fix maybe it might fix your problem for a game or two. You get a new honeymoon phase. But I think you should at least give him a handful of games. Like I'm thinking, you know, 6, 7, 8 to see what he can do with that. Because I think that's a fair enough sample size. If then he doesn't, then yeah, you fire him. You see what you have in Weaver, make him interim head coach. You let some other people call offensive plays. You see how that ends up playing out. I don't know if, you know, I mean, I don't know how much that would change. You could still have Vincent. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I will still be out there rooting. Even though the Dolphins are absolutely terrible, I will be out there watching every game. I'll be rooting for the young players specifically because those guys, you know, potential long-term impacts. I will be making videos on those guys. I will also get into draft season very early, and I will start making draft videos because then we'll be in draft season. But yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. That's one of the biggest things that can turn around is if Tua plays better, then yeah, it will make McDaniel look better. But I still think, there was plenty of blame to go to McDaniel because of some of the play calling. I think play design specifically was not advantageous to the team. I didn't like it. I think the options are very limited at times. Now, Tua left a lot on the field, but I think they both definitely are the biggest two to blame. And if one does better, it helps the other, So if like Tua did play better, yeah, it would make McDaniel's play design, play calling look better. If McDaniel maybe had better play design, it probably would make Tua look a little bit better. But it goes hand in hand with those two, in my opinion. Yeah, but if Miami loses to Pats, Buff, and Jets, I think is when it could start. Yeah, if they go 0-4 and like it's a bad 0-4, like it looks like week 1, then yeah, I wouldn't mind them starting to do it then. I also don't think it really matters. Paying your hard-earned money like everyone does gives you the right to name calling. Someone say that. Looking through which QBs you like. I talked a little bit about them. I would say I think Nussmeier has the best chance of being good. I don't know if Nussmeier will be great though, so I don't know if that's the type of QB you would want to go after. Unless it depends where you pick in the draft too. I like Nussmeier. Think he's going to be good. Don't know if he'll be great though. I like a lot of his skill set though. Sellers is the one, like if you want to take the swing for the fences. I really like a lot of his athletic and physical traits. And I think he still needs to develop, but to me, if you take Sellers, please actually give him time to develop. Go look at Josh Allen. It took really Josh Allen like 3 full years to develop. If they Anthony Richardson, Lenore Sellers, I will be very disappointed. Because you got to give him time. Because if it doesn't work out right away, fans will be calling for the next QB's head and the next coach's head. Right. You were talking about Coach what about the topic that Reason keeps hinting to about McDaniel's toxicity and his issues as a coach. We never hear that it's about. I have no idea, Grant, honestly, if that's true or not. I haven't heard anything about that. I try not to speculate. I'll think this is why it's sometimes hard. This is why I don't like making predictions. Like I just like focusing on specific players and what I see from them on the field because I can watch a specific player or I can watch the team, I can watch the film, and I can learn a lot. But like a lot of people like ask or make speculations about what's going on behind the scenes, and I'm like, I have no idea. Pretty much no one has an idea. Even some people in the building don't really know truly what's happening. That's why it's tough to predict because you don't know people's mindsets, how people feel about others, and sometimes it just doesn't gel like you want it to. So I have no idea. You feel Tua have a backlash about his last hip injury? I mean, it's a possibility, Gabriel. I think I need to see more games from Tua because he did look a little bit hindered, maybe from a physical perspective in week 1, but it's a small sample size, so I'm just gonna wait it's something I'm gonna keep an eye on. No, I haven't seen those QBs yet. I haven't seen most. I've only seen like a handful of the top rated guys. I go through like the orders, people list, and then start taking notes. I haven't like taken crazy notes yet. I actually probably could check, see what I have written down about some people because I haven't taken notes in a hot minute. But let's see. I haven't seen anyone mention Fernando Mendoza. He's another QB that I think I could like in the class. There's some good linemen out there, some good corners, some good receivers. I think Jordan Tyson's probably the best receiver I watched. Thoughts on NWI's usage? Yeah, I think they should definitely be trying to get him involved. But I think a lot of the players that aren't like, initial starters, even the initial starters were barely used. It was just the nature of the game. So I think with players like, Nick Westbrook-Akine, even Malik could have got more involved. Ollie Gordon, I think those players, I'm waiting to see more of a normal offensive game where like you're actually having some sustained drives. You don't go down super early to see what the usage looks like. But if that usage continues, then I would have concerns. Jordan Phillips will start over Grant. I mean, maybe in base versus run, but no, Grant definitely offers a lot more as a pass rusher, and he could still hold his own versus the run. The Dolphins didn't really have a problem stopping the run in week 1. But no, I don't see Jordan Phillips starting over Grant. They might both be out there in like base looks. Because Phillips is going to play as like a 1 tech nose tackle. Grant's going to play like 3 tech, move all around. Greer won't be fired? I mean, he could definitely be fired. I mean, he should be fired. Will he? I mean, I can't guarantee it, but I think you can't guarantee that he won't be fired. He definitely should, though. Unless they somehow turn around, make the, win a playoff game. Yeah, I mean, this Patriots game is huge to set the tone because we already know what happens in Buffalo. The Dolphins just have to come out early and find a rhythm. You look at what the Colts did game plan wise. They made things so easy for their offense, so easy for Daniel Jones. They got him a lot of quick passes into the flat, people wide open. They put people in conflict, and they took advantage. Dolphins didn't really do that, and then when they tried to, make a play, they turned it over. Can't have the turnovers either. I would have took Warren in the first and Johnson in the second. I mean, I would have loved that. But the Johnson thing, I mean, people will talk about taking an injury-prone player, and then Will Johnson will be the best corner week 1 or one of the best corners, and people will be like, look how stupid we are. We didn't take him. And then if we took Will Johnson, he gets hurt, and then people would be the exact same people would then say like, oh my God, Greer does it again, taking an injury-prone player. Like, who would you like to take over Greer's spot? See, GM, I don't really have anyone because like there's a lot of names out there, but GM there's no real like way to know who's good and not. Like if you watch a coach, you can at least look at their scheme on film. If you're looking at like potential GMs, a lot of those guys aren't making final decisions, and you'll probably take a guy from like a good drafting team, but that doesn't mean he's going to come over and be a good drafter for you because with him making final decisions, it could be different. So that is something that like I really don't know who to take for JM. I know people have brought up Louis Riddick, but he's never really done anything like that. So that would be a risky GM move as well. I do like Louis Riddick, but I mean, I don't know if that's the best move. He was worried about his job. He would have done a lot more to keep certain players. Greer was worried about his job. He would have gone higher tiered players this offseason. I mean, I do think those moves do lean towards like Greer, but shouldn't that also mean McDaniel too? Shouldn't he feel safe if they were making little moves in the offseason? I think they maybe Ross gave them some sense of security, but if you come out and play horribly, it doesn't matter. Like people change their minds very quickly, and that has happened a lot in the NFL. Where like people think they're safe, and you have a horrible year, and you are out, gone. Like Marvin, whoever. They might do what's his name, like Champ Kelly or something. I know they brought him in from the Raiders. Who's out there that's definitely better than Greer? I mean, I would imagine a lot of people. Damn, I've never seen such a Greer defender in the chat. Usually it's like Greer has the biggest haters. Still can't believe McDaniel has never pounded the table for a tight end. Yeah, that is one of the bigger letdowns. I mean, personally, I think, there's a blame to go around with all three, but I think, McDaniel has proven more than Greer. Like, at least overall. McDaniel was horrible week 1, but I think if it had to be ranked to me, Greer should go before McDaniel. Both should end up going if you have a bad year. You and Joe Douglas? I'd have to look back on that, Nick. I don't remember. I remember being pretty iffy about it on Joe Douglas. How did Tanner Conner play outside of his catch? Some bad, some good. He wasn't one of the main issues, I would say. Your tight end room, even though it's probably one of your weakest rooms, it wasn't really the issue in that game. Julian Hills had some decent blocks. Tanner Conner on that Achane touchdown was actually the lead blocker on that. And if he didn't get that block, Achane probably doesn't score. I know that play didn't really matter at that point. And then Tanner Conner didn't come down with that one contested catch in the end zone, but thoughts on Titans old GM John Robinson? That's another one off the top of my head. I'd have to do research. I don't remember either. I'd have to look at his drafts. I don't remember. My gut feeling's telling me I remember not being a huge fan, though. Topher, please call McDaniel by his name, or I'm gonna ban you. I will. I don't care. I'm sick of it. You can think he's bad all you want. I'm not going for the personal shots. Keep it football. You could also blame a lot of last year's on talent, specifically on the O-line. It was a balance, between Greer and McDaniel. Why not just promote Marvin Allen? It's a possibility. I don't know if they might. I just don't know if Marvin Allen actually does have an eye for talent. I've heard people talk about him having an eye for talent, but I don't have actually any evidence to know what, I don't have true evidence to know, if he's the one picking out players, who's the one that's behind some of these players? Sometimes it's a GM pick, sometimes it's a scout, sometimes it's the head coach guy, and you don't always know. John Gruden. That would probably be worst case scenario for me. I know some people would like it. I think that would be one of the worst case scenarios for bringing in a new head coach. I would not be a fan. We were drafted to it knowing how to busted hip. Could have had Herbert, Love, or Hurts. Well, to be fair, I don't think any of those three QBs would have worked out like they worked out where they are in Miami. Hurts definitely would not. Hurts would be considered a bust if he started his career in Miami. Love, if he got some time, I could see Love developing into still being pretty good. Same with Herbert, but I still probably not to the same level he's played with the Chargers. And it's not like Tua's been bad. Obviously he was bad versus the Colts, but in the past he hasn't been bad. The injuries overall, and it's been more than the concussions thing. It's not like you can predict the concussion thing that came with coming to the NFL, which has been his main issue injury-wise in the NFL, which obviously sucks. Can't be any worse. John Gruden hasn't had a winning record in 2 decades, guys. So yes, it can be much worse. It can be much worse. And my biggest problem with Gruden is he is a horrible, and I mean horrible, talent evaluator. So if he comes here, you have to let the GM has to have full control, whoever the GM would be, because his drafts for the Raiders when he was the guy there were some of the worst drafts I've ever seen. And I do not want a head coach that comes in and wants full power. And he has some of the worst, like those Raiders drafts are so hard to look at. They're so bad. Who would you want for coach? I mean, pretty much any other option over Gruden I would be on board for. More so than Gruden, at least. They talking Belichick. I mean, look at Belichick with North Carolina. Flores wanted Jordan Love, so we'd be barely better, Joe. Yeah, I mean, I've seen people give Flores that, but like, it took Love 4 years. Do you know how mad Dolphins fans would be if the quarterback they drafted in the first round took 4 years to play? They would have called him a bust after 2 games if not playing. Also, Flores really wanted Deshaun Watson, which would have been one of the worst decisions. If the Dolphins traded for Deshaun Watson, that would have been probably the worst decision I've seen them ever make. I'm so glad that didn't happen. That was the one decision I so badly didn't want to happen, and so glad it didn't. Because he was god-awful and a complete horrible POS. Reggie McKenzie. Yeah, but he's just working with them, right? He's not a GM there. Yeah, they got Borgonzi. He's the guy from the Chiefs, right? I know, yeah. He was pretty highly touted. At least he wouldn't be soft with Gruden. I'm more worried about being good. So I want to hire someone who's a good coach. Shula, yeah. I think Joe Brady could be if you want to go for like a new guy. Would you take a shot at one of these college head coaches? I want an NFL coach with head coach experience at least. Yeah, why does every Dolphins fan want a head coach, a former like head coach? Like, yeah, sometimes those work out, but like I mean, I'm not against it. But like there's not really any options out there as of right now that are super intriguing to me as like former head coaches. Like a lot of them failed for a reason, you know? Ryan Day, no thanks. Not get another inexperienced coach. Interesting. So, you know. Mike Tomlin's one I could get behind. If Mike Tomlin is actually a very good head coach, and if he was fired, it would be just because it's time for them to move on. But like I've seen what someone said, Jason Garrett, Mike McCarthy, like that doesn't really do anything for me. Like I wouldn't be excited about those. Like I would be like, oh, okay, that's fine. Nothing special there. Well, other than Tomlin, who would be an option? Because we are tired of bringing the unproven guys who are flash in the pan. So you want to bring in the guy who is proven to have failed already? Like that's what I'm saying. Like you're bringing in unproven as well, because sometimes guys are out there that were good head coaches and they're out there for whatever reason. Yes, you can still find good former head coaches, but a lot of time those guys are not good options. Now, if you can find me some good options, like Mike Tomlin, I'd be totally down for. What if Cliff Kingsbury? I'm pretty sure I thought Cliff said he didn't want to be a head coach, but I don't know if that's fair or not. McDaniel regressed. I'm not disagreeing. But saying one thing, like saying McDaniel regressed, does not equal bring in a former head coach. Like, it's the same thing with like QB. People think because you had Tua, you have to go in the complete opposite direction and get a guy that's huge and has an extremely strong arm. Going in the complete opposite into the opposite extreme rarely ever works. Just get good people. People that you think would be the best for the job. Now, if that ends up being someone that's big with a strong arm, do it. If that ends up being someone who is a former better head coach, yeah, sure, do it. But like, I'm not going to lock myself in and be like, oh, we got to get a former head coach. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Did McDaniel regress? I mean, it's one game, but I mean, going based on like last year, it would see some regression. But yeah, week 1, obviously not good sign. It's still very early, so we'll see how things change around. I mean, I don't know if it will. Does McDaniel finally give up play calling in an attempt to save his job? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see it at some point this season. I don't think as of yet. Yeah. Well, the thing is, Topher, that's never worked in the past for Miami. They go from complete opposite to complete opposite. Just bring in someone, in the middle ground. It's not like we're that much. Do you pull Tua if he struggles again? For who? Zach Wilson? Hell no. I mean, if the Dolphins get to a point where the season's over, yeah, I would like to see Quinn Ewers play. But like, I'm not pulling Tua for Zach Wilson or Quinn Ewers. So like, if you're trying to win, no. Will Juju Brents get some snaps? They want to play more press? Maybe. I don't know if I don't think it'll be right away though. So probably sometimes. You think McDaniel sees week 4? I don't. I mean, I would say odds. If I had to, I mean, I don't know for sure, but if I had to make a bet, I would say yes, because most coaches don't get fired before week 4. But I mean, it's not an impossibility. I mean, we'll see. I mean, things can change in 1 week. I wouldn't be surprised to see the same people on Twitter that I've seen go in one opposite direction, go to the complete opposite direction if they win. And it's not like, the Patriots are pretty beatable. So is Miami. So, I mean, in my eyes right now, the Dolphins-Patriots game is pretty 50-50. Being in Miami might help them. So. Robert Saleh. Doesn't really do much for me either. I mean, he's a good defensive mind. If Greer and Tua are here after this year, would you consider Nick Saban? I don't. Would Nick Saban want to come back? And that already failed once for us too. Plus, I think that they brought in Saban. I think if you're bringing a new coach, you're pretty much starting over completely. Yeah, I would prefer an offensive coach as well. You look depressed, yeah. Well, when you gotta read a lot of comments that are all just depressing. You think Jonah should be on the right side? I mean, I don't think it really matters. Stats say Daniel Jones had less time to throw than Tua. Yeah, I mean, I think those stats. I've seen the stats. I think they're very misleading if you watch the film. doesn't say he had less time to throw. It's that he threw in quicker time. And I think a lot of those stats get skewed from a lot of the very quick stuff the Colts did early on. But the times when the Colts needed big pockets created, they had a lot of time in the pocket. Also, sometimes those things get pushed around and like go up timing wise. Also, they're very different sample sizes. The Dolphins ran less plays, and there was a lot of plays where Tua was kind of running around for a long time. Like, I think really bring up the average. So, I mean, I think stats are that type of stats was misleading, at least based on the film. Fire Anthony Weaver ASAP. That's an overreaction. You got to give him some time. Which offensive coach is on the Fin staff now that you'd maybe give an interim head coach to? I mean, I don't know. Either Frank Smith or Bevel, I guess. But Daniel Jones actually had more pressure rate. I mean, if you watch the film, you'll know that Daniel Jones had all the time in the world. And the Dolphins' big pressure, like the pressures they got, actually converted for the Colts. It wasn't that Tua was under pressure every play. I actually don't think the offense overall did, or the O-line did that bad of a job overall. It's just the plays they did completely mess up on. They didn't even block the guy, so they got instant pressures and they turned into sacks. I'm just telling you what I saw in film. I don't actually care what the numbers say, because not all plays are created equal in terms of impact. Yeah, Colts O-line, very solid. What does Frank Smith do? I mean, I have no idea. Okay, I think that's was everything. But you always bring up stats to defend Tua that are fugazi and skewed. Interesting. You might be the first person that's ever said I bring up stats. I don't care about stats at all. Sometimes I bring up stats that I think are interesting, but I am a film guy through and through. So I would love for you to give me an example of that, because now we're just making shit up. But hey, that's what we do. That's what we do, I guess. We just start making shit up. Right, what film breakdowns will you do this week? Any positions or players? Yeah, I have a Patrick Paul breakdown tomorrow, and then I think that's it. There's really nothing else to break down. I got all the bad and the offense and defensive video. Individually, there's not much else to break down other than the Patrick Paul. Yeah. I get a lot of opinions from people that don't actually watch the film. And it's like, hey, if you watch the film, I will take your opinion. But like, if you're not watching the film, I think I'm going to trust myself here. Give us some potential offensive minds you want to bring in as head coach. I mean, off the top of my head, the only one I can really think of as of right now is Joe Brady, the Bills offensive coordinator. I think he's done some good stuff over there. I don't know how he would be as a leader of men. That's why it's tough to say. Sometimes with head coaches, like, I like his scheme. Dolphins taking away work from me. That is true. When the Dolphins lose, the views go down drastically. And people, like, I think if you compare last year the Dolphins won week 1. I think that first video had like around 10K views. Usually the Dolphins have won in week 1 and that first video gets like 10K views. This one has like 4K views, and then all the other ones are like down in the 1K range. Usually on a win, it's like way up. It's crazy. It is what it is though. Joe Brady. Yeah, didn't he grow up as a Dolphins fan, I'm pretty sure? I don't know. I tried to watch that at work, but then got called away or having to move. Oh, no, I mean, you're good. You're watching. No, I think some people just like don't like if the Dolphins lose, they don't want anything to do with it. Like all week, they don't even click on. They're like, I'm done. And some people give up. Like last year when, especially when Tua got hurt, like oh my god, people really gave up. People who I would still think like watch after losses, man, they were gone. I mean, I don't blame them. It's just how it works. Oh no, I get it. I'm not blaming anyone. Whenever I say Tua has weak arm, you bring up stats about yards per reception in 2023. Well, I think people overrate arm strength in terms of like a skill set, and it's not. I'm not saying it doesn't matter at all. Yes, Tua does have a weak arm, and I do think in that Sunday game, his arm looked even weaker than usual. But I think people try to like use arm strength. Like for me, arm strength is more about hitting, those deep out routes, tight window throws when you have to throw with velocity. But I think people try to use his arm strength for him can't throw the deep ball when she's always been a pretty good, accurate deep ball thrower. And I've had people say like he doesn't throw the ball down the field. He doesn't throw the ball down the field. And I'm like, well, the film and the stats both back it up. If the stats and the film connect, then yeah, he's in the past in 2023 specifically. In 2022, he was throwing the ball down the field consistently, accurately. So yeah, not all stats created equal. And people use arm strength in the wrong way. And also, he would make up for arm strength in the past with his anticipation, but clearly that wasn't on the par with what you won week 1. Cut, chop, and grant. Malky, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Cutting, chop, and grant? What are you talking about? Who should I get and why? Out of the rivals jersey of those three? Or you're someone different, Mikey? Out of those three is Waddle. Thoughts on Xavier Howard, 30th player to say Tua relies on timing? I mean, I talked about the Xavier Howard thing earlier. He didn't really say timing though. He talked about the first read thing and throwing to the middle of the field. I think the first read thing, I mean, I mentioned it earlier. I mean, if you watch the film, the Colts did not clog the middle of the field like Xavier Howard said. Tua just missed those throws. They only clogged the field, I think, realistically on one play, and it was the Alec Ingold throw. Hey, trolling you, Rudder? I mean, hey, it was just said like 18 times. I'm overreacting here, but I mean, in my opinion, we need to look into what draft picks we can get for what players. I mean, yeah, you got to consider it, but that's trades are rarely made this early into the season. Like actual, like you might see some like lower run trades, but I don't think you're going to see it. Like you'll see trades if this continues, but to me, it's more of a talk in like a few weeks if it continues. Waddle's underutilized. I agree. What did just happen? What did you have your top 3 or top 5 or 10 college players and viewers to look out for? I don't really have that as of right now. I haven't done enough work as of yet. Someone different? Who would be here for the long haul? Maybe Chop. A-Chan, maybe. Not a bad shout. Anyone else? Other than what you said, I mean, Waddle. Which DV was covering Waddle all game? I mean, it wasn't the same the whole game, but yeah, he did get matched up on Ward a lot, and there's that one play I go back to where that was one of the more concerning plays with Tua on the 4th down. I mean, game wise, it didn't really matter because the game was over by then, but it was still concerning in terms of like the process of the play. Tua coming off that read at the bottom on Waddle. I don't know why he came off of it so early. It didn't make sense to me. What is this man talking about? Are you talking about me? Waddle sucks. Oh, man. Yeah. No thanks to Gruden, Chris. Already said that. Dolphins trade Tua for Sanders, maybe? Who, Shadur? You can probably trade a sandwich for Shadur. The Browns don't want him. They hate him. The Browns never wanted him by how they act. Achane is probably traded, to be honest. I don't think they'll pay a small RB. I mean, they don't have that many players that they need to pay in the future, so I think they can pay Achane pretty easily. Oh my god. Okay. Oh, I've been live for so long. Okay. Yeah, any final questions? Let's see if it figures itself out, you know. Don't want to panic yet. At the end of the day, it was a horrible game, but it still equals 1 loss. Now if it continues, then yeah. Then it's over. Then it's really over, but I just want to see some individual players thrive. I want to see them at least be more competitive. At least give me some sort of hope. Give me some dopamine. I had nothing in that game. I didn't feel a single positive moment, I think, that entire game. Waddle ain't good no more? No, Waddle is still very good. Yeah. Just move on from it and hope. I just want to see the team, like I know people will say, like, they got bullied week 1. I don't really think they got, like, bullied per se. I think that it was more, like, they weren't getting, like, crazy out physical or anything. I just think they played bad, undisciplined football. Like, that was the big problem. I think a lot of people always go to, like, the soft narrative. No, they just played horrible. But I do want to see them go out in week 2 and just play, like, much smarter football, but, like, just play like you really, really want it. Show me some heart. Show me some fight, at least. They just played so, like, nothing was fun to watch. There was nothing positive to break down from a schematic standpoint, from a film standpoint. Some players never even had a chance. Yeah, I will be keeping, that will definitely be something that the rookies will be something I'll be looking at the whole season, no matter what. I will be looking at the rookies and the second year guys, and I'll be looking at their development. I will be making film breakdowns on them the whole year, whether the Dolphins suck, turn it around. Those will be the guys I'm keeping an eye on and making those film breakdowns on, because those guys will at least matter for the long term. See if we get anything there. Tyreek was showing fight, get 10 the ball. I mean, Tyreek's showing fight to his ex-wife. So he can get shown the boot for all I care about Tyreek. Obviously, he's still a very talented player, but if there's one player I'm just down to trade because I'm sick of him, it's Tyreek. What were you the most disappointed in? Probably the pass rush, because I think I just had a high expectation from them and they just really didn't show up in week 1. I do think that's the one area they will get better, but it was disappointing. But yeah, hopefully it turns around. I mean, I don't want to overreact to one game and just say this player sucks now, this coach sucks now, this player is good now, this coach is good now, just from one game. And I'm not gonna, if they do good next game, I'm not gonna flip my tune in the opposite direction. Obviously, I'll feel better, but I just don't want to overreact yet. Now, if it continues, then it might be time to overreact. Honestly, I want to see Waddle get the ball more. I want to see more press man. I want to see Waddle be more first reads. It just feels like he's not first read enough. Not disappointed in Mr. 50. Chop was held multiple times. I've seen that video, Patrick. I think people don't really know what the exact rule for holding is because I don't think those were holds. I think a lot of people think like if they get any grip on you that it's a holding call. That's not the case. Like offensive linemen can grip you. They can hold on to you. If you look at the exact rulebook, it's literally about like when they stop moving their feet and then they start getting outside the frame and like things like that. I don't think those were holds on Chop. And I love Chop. And, I would like to make some excuses for him. It was not a hold. I've seen the videos. I think the average NFL fan has a very, I think it's probably one of the rules that I think the average NFL fan just like has a misunderstanding of. Because like there's that one from the Eagles game on Thursday, people were calling that one play a hold, and every ex-NFL offensive lineman is like, that's not a hold, like by the rule book. That was just pure domination. Like you can grip onto players and technically hold on to them, but it's not holding by rule unless they get outside of things. 3 turn for sure. Definitely have to cut down on the turnovers. To me, it looks outside of frame, but I just try. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe one of them was like a little questionable, but like I think people were just calling them guaranteed holds, and I don't think those holds get called majority of the time. But I get it. Holding is one of the calls that it's very hard to understand. There was definitely a time in the past where I would have been like, oh, those were probably holds, but now if you read the rule book about it, it's not quite, I think, what people think. But yeah, that should be it. If you didn't watch the Cole Strange film breakdown, you can watch that. I made that earlier. I made that yesterday, actually, but it came out today. If you want to see the Patrick Paul video, it's up members only, but it will be out tomorrow at some point. But yeah, keep an eye out for that. And then I'll probably, so Patrick Paul video out tomorrow. And then I'm either going to stream Friday or Saturday, or maybe both days. And that will be like the Patriots preview day. I'm going to watch some film. I'm going to see what the Patriots did week 1 because, they got a new coach. And then I'll also go over what I think Vrabel might do, go more back to that Titans game when we faced Vrabel in the past. And we'll see if the Dolphins can adjust to that. That will be interesting. I think the defense should have more success versus the Patriots O-line. And then Drake May. It just depends on what Drake May you get because Drake May is still pretty raw, has a lot of talent. Like he'll have some great plays, but like he is prone to making mistakes. So can you make him, get up on that? You like the Strange move? I mean, I'm not against it. I mean, it's a fine move, I think, for like O-line depth. I think he's a scheme fit. I think, you need some guys, and it's not a bad dart throw. I'm not mad about it. I think there could have been worse moves to make. I don't expect him to make like a crazy impact or anything, but like I think he could be maybe better than some of the other. Once you got down to like, your third interior offensive lineman, we've seen some really bad play. I think he can maybe do better than what they've had in the past, like better than what like Lester Cotton did for you and things like that. Yeah, Travion Henderson is a stud. I didn't watch how he played week 1, but yeah, he's we'll see. See how it plays out. But yeah, that'll be it. Later, guys.